Well, hello everyone.
Hello.
It is the weekend after Christmas, so if no one told you Merry Christmas, I'm going to tell you Happy Christmas.
You're not English. But Merry Christmas, everyone. And it's almost New Year's.
It is almost New Year's.
Believe that.
Our next episode will be in New Year's.
Yeah, it will. That is really bizarre.
It is. 2024 went by fast.
Crazy stuff in 2024.
So what are we going to talk about today?
We have to do a year in review too.
We were here and we talked and we did what, 7 episodes, 6 episodes. This is 7, I think.
This is number 7. Yeah, I think so. Anyhow, that's our year in review.
Yep.
Enjoy.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. Have fun.
So we're going to talk about this H-1B thing on X. It is blown up.
Yep.
And just been crazy.
And then we're going to discuss beneficial ownership information reports.
Or the stupidity of the courts.
Well, that too. And then we've got another AI accounting business decided to go out of business. I wonder what happened. And then our final big story is
Nissan and Honda might join together.
Maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then we've got some fun animal facts later on about the platypods and some weird giraffes.
Yes.
So, stick with us all the way through the end if you want to hear those fun things. All right. So let's start with H-1B visas. Are they awesome? Are they not? What's wrong with them? What are they?
Like many things in the government, I think they may have been intended originally for a good purpose. But I've been in IT for 40 years. And about 20 years ago, H-1Bs came about. I guess it's about 20. And they have been abused ever since. I've worked with people. I've worked for people that are on H-1Bs. And the biggest thing is that they bring them to pay them less. That is absolutely... From the first one I worked for a company, probably close to 30 years ago. And they brought a gentleman over from Belgium to work with me. He had the same job description I did. And after we worked together for probably 6-9 months or something like that, probably even longer than that, probably 3 or 4 years, we started talking about salary.
Which, if you work at a large corporation, you should discuss your salary with all of your coworkers.
Correct. But back then, it was forbidden. You couldn't talk about salary. But we were out to dinner, I think it was probably, because on a business trip yeah. And just out to dinner, and we started talking about salary and found out that he was making 1/3 what I was making.
Yep.
1/3. And then he went back, got pissed off, rightly so. He got pissed off because he had the same skills I said I did. Everything. He had about the same amount of work time, experience. And he went back in, and then they gave him a substantial raise. But at the substantial raise, he was not even making 2/3 of what I was still.
Yeah. So I think the H-1B visa is a conversation, yes, just about H-1B visas, but also in general a lot of other things. I do think there is a need for more talented employees in certain fields, or more employees in certain fields as well. There's a bunch of different things I think wrong with the current way companies hire in the U.S. Besides just picking cheap labor from overseas. And one of them is the resume to hire model is broken, just fundamentally, completely broken. And so to justify a higher pay raise as a U.S. worker, you actually have to show that you can work, which I think is reasonable. And that's not how interviews work currently.
I was in an interview where we asked for these SQL Server, and we asked for Progress. And the guy had them both on his resume. And we And we asked him, talked to him about it, and he said, yeah, I put the second one on my resume because you had it listed on your job. I've never had any experience with it.
It was all to get an interview.
Yeah.
And the problem with the hiring in the U.S., and I've experienced this myself from being unemployed for more than a year twice. Back when I first was unemployed, I actually got a job interview relatively quickly with applying for like 20 to 50 jobs. And then finally did get employed after a while. But I didn't have to apply for that many jobs. The second time I got laid off, I applied for probably 500 to 700 jobs, got 2 interviews, and never got called back. And that is the system we currently live in, where you're no longer competing against just local talent, people in your own community for jobs. You're competing at least with everyone across the country. In addition, you're also competing with everyone across the globe to a certain extent. And it is almost impossible for you to be seen by an employer unless you know someone at the company.
Because the HR departments
are terrible.
Are the problem. They're terrible. They're the problems. They're the ones that cause a lot of this issue. You cannot get through the HR department.
Nope.
When I was looking for another job a while back, I had 25 years of experience, and I couldn't make it through the HR departments because I didn't have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, it's
and so I finished a bachelor's degree, and I don't have that block anymore. That's the reason I finished a bachelor's degree, was just that one reason, is to get through the HR departments.
It is the dumbest crap. And then and beyond that, so beyond that problem, there's a lot of large companies that just post phantom jobs.
Mm-hmm. Not even large companies. A lot of small ones do too.
And so it's this whole mess of, it's not just hiring foreign workers for cheap. It's almost impossible to just find a job if you need a job.
An actual real job.
Yeah,
because
and get an actual interview with the company unless you know someone in the inside. And we're not a community anymore. We're not a country based on community anymore. And so knowing people at different companies is not as likely as it used to be.
I read an article that said that between 40 and 60% of the jobs on the tech jobs are phantom.
Yeah. That
are posted on, the big jobs. And they do that because it makes the company look good, like they're growing. It makes the company be, looks, and they never intend to fill these jobs.
Yeah.
And so we have a problem, and H-1B is a big issue with it as well, but so is offshore labor. And this mistaken by our American, and this is the problem with foreign CEOs. They have this not funky, I guess it's rational in their mind, but that the company I work for right now, we can have 6 offshore people. We have 6 offshore people working for us. And the reason is they can hire 10 of them for the cost of 1 U.S. employee.
Yep.
And now those 6 people do less work than 1 U.S. employee, but it's still cheaper.
See, so from my perspective
it's cheaper still in quotes.
Business owner, I found it really hard to find qualified people.
Yeah, I agree.
Feel like people don't want to work for small businesses.
Well, people don't. I think the issue is people don't want to work.
Well, that's part of the issue too. People got pissed at him because he said that's part of the American culture currently. He's not wrong.
Part of it is though, if you talk on a totality of things that you have to take into account. It's circumstances. If you can go and get on welfare and get on all this stuff that we give you for free, get on Section 8 housing and all this stuff, and you can actually make more money. In Utah, about 8 years ago, KSL published an article that a family of 4 could make $78,000 a year on welfare, and that's
insane. And
that's rolling in the housing and everything else. Not just one thing, but they could make $78,000 a year, and so there's no incentive for that family. Well, and that's what they get from the government. Then they could work under the table and even make more.
Oh yeah,
but that's a perverse incentive to not work.
It is a perverse incentive because the problem I find is, there's an issue with, it's not millennials, it's just younger generations getting into the workforce, called quiet quitting. You hire them, they seem to do well, and then if they decide they don't want to work anymore, they just don't work. until you fire them.
You had that experience.
I did. It's the dumbest crap in the world. And it's, as a small business owner, I don't have the margins to have people on my payroll who don't do anything. And so it's quite harmful to my business when I hire someone and they seem to be doing well and then they all of a sudden just check out. It's just... So I understand the wanting to offshore, because guess what? I can go offshore and I can hire someone for $1,000 a month. And guess what? If they don't work out, the amount of funds I'm out of is relatively little.
Yeah.
But if they do work out, I'm winning.
You're way ahead. Yeah.
So it's there's a cultural issue here beyond just what's going on.
Well, this isn't new, because 35 years ago, I worked for a big corporation, and we wanted to do some high-level math. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're talking image manipulation math. So this is super high-level math. And they couldn't find anybody in the U.S. to do it. And they actually went to Russia, and they paid this Russian PhD $600.
And he did it.
And he did it. And he was excited to get the $600.
Oh yeah. See, this is the problem with the U.S. is, I think, it's education.
Absolutely.
We've told kids that they need to go into $200,000 of debt to get a PhD or a master's degree to be worth anything. And so now they have an expectation of being paid a certain amount because they honestly have to get paid a certain amount to actually live.
Correct.
We have welfare, like you mentioned, that causes people to, well, unless you're going to pay me enough for me to not have to, why would I work?
Yeah.
We need to fix our systems in the U.S. in addition to fixing immigration stuff. My problem is with H-1B visa discussion is, honestly, I wanted to make it as easily as possible for good people to come to the U.S. Like, real easy. I want you to be able to just come here if you want to. And they kicked out if you're bad.
Through the process.
But it should be simple. Right now, the process is $10,000 to $20,000.
And 5 years.
5 years,
at
or
least,
more.
or at least 5 years. Yeah.
And so this is, I appreciate the discussion. That's the other thing I wanted to point out is, guess what? Having a back and forth where people disagree is actually really good.
That's what free speech is for.
That is literally what free speech is for. And so people who are freaking out about people not agreeing or not being on this, that's literally the purpose of free speech, is to have open discussions about things
Post your arguments.
Yes.
Let's discuss them. Let's intelligently have a disagreement or something. I mean, H-1B visas are just abused horrifically by the large corporations.
Well, and one of the things that they pointed out, also, I wanted to show this because, boy, that escalated quickly. If you are looking for the discussion on H-1B visas, just go do a search. If you haven't seen it, it's all over the place. But going back to the point of, what was my point? I don't remember. I lost it.
I don't know because you didn't say it.
It ran away. But we need to have the discussion.
And they shouldn't be allowed to. This is one thing that H-1B visas shouldn't be allowed to happen. Is we have a great example of it back in a little while, that where Disney, and it came out and it was all over the news, where Disney hired H-1B visas, brought them over here, and they told their employees that they had to train them, and if they didn't, they wouldn't get any severance.
Yeah.
And that right there is, I mean, Disney sucks right now anyway, and it has for a few, for 10, 20 years.
Yeah, it's been bad.
But that's just an example of one of them.
Well, and the other thing several people mentioned is that H-1B visa holders are essentially indentured servants to the companies that bring them over, and so they get to extort them more than normal employees because they
can't quit. If they do, they leave.
Yeah,
have to leave.
They have to leave the country.
Not necessarily. I guess everybody else stays. So why would they have to?
Well, at some point that'll change. So it's a bad system overall.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it needs to be reformed, and it's not that we don't want additional people coming in here who are bright and talented and can do things, but we also want to make a more level playing field. But I think part of the solution is also changing the way people are hired in the U.S. And I've talked to this with my brother as well. Going back to apprenticeships,
Yeah.
guilds, things like that, where you join something, you get the experience in that organization, helps you get hired.
Vouches for you. They vouch for you.
They go find you a
Yeah.
job and say, "Oh, look, this guy right here, he's got the experience. Hire him."
Yeah.
Versus, and I'm not talking about unions. I hate unions. This is different than a union. This is an experience-based specialty that helps you get hired.
Well, and unions at one point had some valid points. I don't think they do today the way they're run again. Once again, it degraded to beyond what it's supposed to be. And so a guild, if you want to call it that, is basically it's a union, but it goes back to the original purpose. And the original purpose was to train people in this field and to get them out in the workforce.
Yeah.
And to have enough what's the word I'm looking for?
Sway?
No, not just sway, but credibility as the union.
Credibility, yes.
That when you say this person can do the job, everybody goes, "Oh, okay, I trust you."
It's like I am a CPA, and I've joined some of the local CPA organizations, the state ones. They're absolutely not helpful to me. Like, they don't help me at all. They don't help me find clients or anything. It's like, if you're an association, you should be helping your members do things like find them jobs or positions or things like that, and make it very aware that that's one of your primary goals to do. Otherwise, what's the point?
Well, and I've been to certain organizations. There's a balance, I think. I've gone to Salt Lake City user group for SQL Server, and it is basically a bunch of young people looking for jobs. And so it does help, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing in itself. It's just it needs to be more than that.
It does.
And so a pseudo guild is what you're talking about would hopefully be more than that.
Because you need to build relationships with corporations, a lot of different businesses, so that when they have a need, they just come to you and ask you, and you're like, "Well, I've got 5 or 6 people I can talk to.
Yeah.
Send your way."
Yeah.
But right now, I think the whole system is broken, and we need some change. We need a lot of good change.
It may come down to, and I haven't thought this through, but I am going to talk about it anyway.
Might as well.
It may come down to our foundation of our country is fractured and gone.
It could be.
Our common ground, for one thing, our common ground is gone. So we no longer have, and you could see this in the last election, where you had one side calling the other side every possible derogatory term and justifying individuals trying to kill people.
Yep.
And we just saw that this last month with the CEO, the healthcare CEO being executed, because he was executed, because they justify it. I mean how? And that commonality on the and we've lost community. You mentioned that we've lost community. We've lost that commonality of foundation. How do we get that back?
Well, we have to build it and want it. That's two things. A lot of people don't realize when they complain about not having community. If you're not doing anything to be in community, then you're not really helping at all. Whatsoever.
Actually, you're hurting it because
you are. So you got to actually you got to go find places to get in community with people.
Yep.
But I think there is a problem there. There needs to be. It's not just about foreign people coming in and taking our jobs, because guess what? They actually work. And some of them don't. No, I'm not saying they have experience or skills that they needed. They actually show up and try to do things. Where in the U.S. we have a massive problem with people getting hired for jobs and they just don't try.
Yeah,
they don't try.
Well, there's a new term for it.
Well, yeah, quiet quitting.
Yeah, I was shocked that they actually came up with a term for it.
It's the dumbest crap in the world. I hate it.
We happen to have a president that's doing that.
No, he's never been. They admitted that. Remember?
Yes, they did.
They admitted that he's never been mentally there.
Yeah.
Since he got elected.
All right. What else?
So I guess we can beat that dead horse some more. We can move on. So the next story we have on here
It's
is
Nissan and Honda.
No.
Well,
we can talk about that though.
it doesn't matter. I'm just going in order of
the tabs I have open.
Oh, yeah.
We were going to talk about BOIR. Hold on,
Yes.
let me pull up the website. So first off, this may not matter to you, but it matters to a lot of people.
If you noticed it, all about financial crimes. This is how they're supposed to.
So let's talk a little bit about it first. What is it? I asked Grok to do a quick summary of the CTA, which is the Corporate Transparency Act, which includes the requirement to file beneficial ownership reports. And the CTA is essentially was just about the beneficial ownership reports. There's not a whole lot else going on in that bill. So what it is you're supposed to tell the federal government the type of the business you have and who the beneficial owners, not just the people who own the business, but who have a vested interest in the business. So like C-suite people and above.
Okay.
So that's just what they're asking for. So where this came from, and you can tell me if you think logically this makes lots of sense or not. The federal government was trying to get information on small businesses from the states. And one state, named Florida, said no. And so what did the federal government do? They didn't just push Florida and get a better reason for them to give them the information. No, they passed a law that said all small businesses have to report. So what percent have reported, do you think?
Probably 0.001.
Less than 10%.
It's just stupid. Okay, so we now know what it is, but
and why it came to be. So what happened is there's been two main court cases against BOIR. It's been weird. One of them got an injunction just from their members. So it was one of the larger small business associations sued and got an injunction saying that their members no longer had to file until it got through the courts. And then a second lawsuit came about that got an injunction for everyone. And that was, I think it was November, the injunction came out, saying that you no longer have to file. So this is where things get interesting. Where is my cursor? It's on the other screen. Sorry. I'll show you this on our show notes. There we go. So this is the dumb thing here. Right here. On December 23rd, before Christmas, the day before, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the injunction, thereby reinstating BOIR. So if you hadn't filed, guess what? You had to file. And the filing date, original date, was December 31st. They decided to extend that to January 13th. So I told all my clients before this came out that you should probably just file so that as a business owner, this is not one more thing you have to pay attention to because it's dumb. So just file and move on with your life until it gets through the court system. And this is why. Because on December 27th,
4 days later,
after Christmas, the injunction was put back in place. And guess what? More than likely, at some point next year, the injunction will be removed again.
Yeah.
So I really do hope that and you can look on their website, they have some notifications as well. I think the law is going to get overturned because this is an undue burden. So beyond requiring to file, the penalty is $500 a day if you don't file, and up to $10,000 penalty for not filing. So here's my issue. If one state out of 50 was giving you issues with giving you information, which is easier, continuing to pursue one state for not giving you information, or 100 million small business owners?
Well, but that's not their point. Their point is if they can beat that one state into submission, because if that one state successfully stands up, other ones are going to do as well. And so if they're going to beat that state, they're going to try to beat that state into submission to put this in.
Yeah, but from a practicality standpoint.
Yeah, correct. But that's not how...
that's not how government works.
The feds never concern themselves about practicality.
From a logical standpoint, I need information. Should I go to one person,
Yeah.
or do I go 100 million people?
100 million, obviously, because then
Yeah.
you can grow your bureaucracy and make it larger and larger and larger and get more of a budget.
So it never made sense to me, this law in the first place. And then when I found out that was the reason why they passed it, it made even less sense.
Yeah.
Yes, all this information that they're asking for is already reported to your state, because that is where you're required to file. You're required to register your business at the state level.
At the state level.
And provide that information. So the states all have it. So if the federal government can't get it from the states, it's probably because you don't need it.
Yeah, they don't need it. Another way, more.
So, yeah.
More information to hack for somebody else to go out there and get it and scrape it off the government's unsecured websites.
That never happens.
I know.
They're the best at security. There wasn't a case, 3 or 4 weeks ago, about how the back door that the federal government required all cell phone providers to have is currently being used by the China, and there's no way for them to detect if China's using it or not.
Because it's a back door that's wide open?
Back door? Oh.
Yeah.
The federal government's run by a bunch of morons, I think.
Yeah.
Well, there's some smart people, and then midwits are underneath them, and they just do what they're told.
No, there's some evil people as well.
That too. There's two types of evil people. There's outright evil people, and then there's evil people by their unwillingness to do anything.
Yes.
So, and then we have one more accounting story, because I might be a CPA who does accounting things, and therefore I follow accounting things. And this one makes me laugh. So Bench, an AI bookkeeping service, announced yesterday it's closed.
And not
with no warning.
No warning. This is just boop.
Everyone's fired. They're closed.
So that's lovely, because guess what it is? It's tax season.
Yeah, year end.
Gosh. And they've been in business for 13 years?
Yep.
Wow. That's
so
insane.
Discussion question: why is bookkeeping so hard to automate? Do you know? Any ideas?
My guess is because of the categorizing things, and also people are involved.
Yes. There's every type of business has a different way of categorizing things. So people don't understand this. They think everyone reports information the same way, and that's how it's always been in accounting. That is not it at all. Unless you're a publicly traded company, the way you report your information on your books can be however you feel like. Literally however you feel like. Doesn't have to be a standard format. Doesn't have to follow any norms. Me, as someone who does taxes, all I care about is that you categorize specific things that matter for taxes in their own category, and I know what they are. Otherwise, you put your books together so they make sense to you. So that means literally everyone who does their books, they're all different. So you can standardize it, but you have to have a good source of information to be able to standardize that.
And if I'm a small business, why should I?
There's no reason for it.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that if I'm a small business and it makes sense to me, so if I buy sodas and snacks for my employees,
yep,
I could, as a small business, put that down as
whatever you want it.
Whatever I'm just trying to come up with a term,
Employee appreciation.
Yeah, employee appreciation.
Office expenses.
Office expenses, exactly. But if I'm a large business, I have to put that under something specific.
Yes, you do. For general accepted accounting principles, which do not apply to anyone who is not publicly traded.
And which is like 99% of all
correct.
Companies in the U.S.
100% correct.
But this is insane, and they're going to get just their pantsuit off of.
Well, so this is the second AI company that's gone under. One went under in 2020. Their AI bookkeeping, and I'm curious to see if the same thing happened with them as with this other company. Come to find out, their software sucked, and they were just hiring people in the Philippines to do the bookkeeping.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So
it's kind of like
surprised.
the Amazon
self-checkout.
Self-checkout. That's insane.
So, I've talked to this to some of my software developers and other people. The advantage that people who know what they're doing with AI are going to have is they're going to have better data. And that is going to be what differentiates a good AI company from a bad one. Right now, everyone's just assuming that you collect the most data and that makes you the best. And it's not true.
Yeah. You've got to have the quality of your data is more important than the quantity.
Yeah.
Interesting. So if you were with the bench, we have a CPA firm that will be more than happy to help you here.
Yeah.
If you want to. And that's our, but otherwise.
Yeah. Well, the other thing to remember is you get what you pay for. So a lot of problems with startups like this, and you've seen it with Uber and Lyft, but they were successful because they got to kick out tax companies.
Yes.
If a company comes in with lower rates than anyone else around, and they're a startup, meaning they're running off of venture capital, they're not going to be profitable without raising rates. So they're either going to try to put everyone else out of business and
Correct.
then up rates so they can make money, or they're going out of business because they're not making any money.
Yeah, and these guys raised what, 100 million?
Yeah, and so they ran out of money, and because they weren't profitable, they went out of business.
Because nobody else wanted to give them any more 100 million.
Yeah, no one wanted to invest in them because guess what? You're not profitable because you're charging bargain basement prices.
And this is what it gets you.
Yep.
Your tax data is not available to you any longer.
Yeah.
4 days before the
End of the year.
At the end of the year. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So
Yippee.
it's going to be fun to watch the stories around us as they come out. So now we can go to the Honda and Nissan merger.
Yes.
What do you think?
The mergers, I always wonder who's going to be left in charge. And then who ends up being in charge will depend on the quality of anything that they produce. And in an automaker, it's easy to judge the quality because it's on the ground, it's got 4 wheels and an engine, and you have to drive it.
Come on, Daewoo was probably the best cars out there. I mean, you buy one, get one free.
I know, that was the funniest thing. And we lived out in Pennsylvania at the time, and there was literally a Daewoo dealer that you buy one, you get one free.
They were great cars.
Yeah, so that's the thing about these mergers is, it's. I know why they want to do it is because they get a bigger share and they get a little more. They can only do one set of R&D.
Yep.
And stuff like that, but I struggle with it because all of a sudden somebody's going to be in charge, and normally that is somebody who's not familiar with the business, and that drives the business in the whole. You look at the airline industries right now.
Well, they got bailed out just like the car companies, and that's
Correct.
why the car companies aren't doing well.
Yep. Or the airlines.
Correct. Yeah, so I honestly don't care because I don't think Honda and Nissan are gonna. It could help them make it, but I think whether you like Tesla or not, they've caused a massive disruption in the automobile market for the better. And unless the other automakers decide to actually try, they're going to get replaced.
Well, and did you hear the story that came out? I guess it was about 2 weeks ago about. I can't think of the name. It was before the Grand Tour. What was the name of the show?
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, what is the name?
It's Clarkson and those guys.
I don't remember the name of it.
And the show that they did, the British show they did about cars. Let's see if we can find it. And they panned Tesla when they did a story on a show on it. They really just destroyed it. They said the batteries only lasted like 20 some odd miles or something. And
Top Gear.
Top Gear, yes, Top Gear.
Took me forever to find it.
And search Top Gear and Tesla. And see, they just really right now go back up. Yeah.
Do you want this one?
Go up one. That one.
You want to read Reddit?
Well, but
yeah,
so they're being taken to court. This is what came out. They're being taken to court because they
lied.
they lied about this.
So not only did they lie, they scripted everything before they even
Yeah,
got the car.
they scripted it all. Yeah, they did, and it was in emails. And that's the thing that's amazing. That
So they got a Tesla Roadster and made it look like it was a piece of crap. When
Yep.
in reality, it was never. The battery never ran down below, I think, 70% per internal people.
Yep.
And everything was scripted out to make it look like it was broken and not working well.
yeah, it was just it was amazing that they would do something but like that. And that's Tesla's is that disruptive. I agree with you. Tesla is that disruptive. I mean, the problem that you're going to run into is I don't have the power availability at my house to charge one of these things. I don't
You
know.
do. Just pull it off the grid
I know.
at 3 a.m. at night.
Yeah, exactly. And I need, like, even the Cybertruck. I have a pickup, a F-150, and the reason I have an F-150 is I throw 4x8 sheets of whatever in the back of it, and I also drag a trailer around.
Yep.
And none of those things would work.
Yes, it would. You can do all those things with a Cybertruck.
I know, but let's drag a trailer, an 8,000-pound trailer for 250 miles.
It would work fine. No, seriously, it would. So the reason I say this, so the best video I saw on this is Tucker Carlson. He has a home in the middle of nowhere in New Hampshire. And so he got a Cybertruck for one of his farm friends up there.
Oh, and the
Just
guy's
a
been
random-
beating it up.
He's been beaten up, and there's a video about him driving around.
Yeah.
And he says, price is not the problem because people go out and buy $100,000 to $200,000
I agree.
trucks for their farms all the time. That's not a problem. And he loves it because of the amount of power and quickness that it has, and it drives just fine everywhere. So, yes, long road trips is not going to be great as good because there's battery capacity issues there. You could probably get 300 miles, maybe a little less, depends on how much you're towing.
Quite a bit less, I think.
But for anything under 150 miles,
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's
It's a short-term vehicle.
perfect.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, and as long as you have the capacity
and he has
to charge it.
and they have battery packs too. So you
Yeah.
can
Well, and
throw
I
some
remember
battery
I
packs
saw
on
the guy. I've followed the guy too on X, and he uses the batteries to run a welder,
Oh yeah,
220 welder, and he loves that because he just doesn't have to worry about taking a generator now. He just takes the truck out there and runs a
Yep.
220 welder off of it. And so it's. I get that. I do. I understand that. But at the same time, there's some infrastructure issues that we got to deal with.
What are you saying, that we need nuclear power?
Yeah, that would be nice.
No, I think that's the main issue that people don't realize, and I think Elon's aware of it. The power infrastructure in the U.S. isn't great, and that's because we have allowed monopolies in pretty much every state.
Yeah.
And California's a great example of that. They're trying to go all EV, right? Except for they told everyone, I think it was last summer, hey, can
When
you
the
not
heat-
charge your EVs, please?
When they did rolling blackouts too. Anyhow, we can switch to. I mean, that's my concern with Honda, with any of the big corporations mergers, is who's going to be left in charge. Are they going to actually drive the company to a better vehicle, or are they going to take and they're just going to rest and just coast? And I don't know. I've never bought a Nissan. I've had friends that have had them,
Hondas are good cars. Historically, they have, but I don't know if they currently are.
but they're also pricey.
They're a little bit pricey.
And they're stripped compared to the feature set that you would get if you look at a Honda minivan and a Kia minivan.
That's true.
If you look at the price, if you compare dollar to dollar,
And
the feature set for the Kia and the warranty is just going to be as good as Honda's, but the feature set is going to be way above Honda's.
yeah, it's going to be interesting. So my biggest issue, I don't honestly care if they merge. It's more what happens when they don't do well. Is the government going to bail them out again?
Yeah.
I would hope no, because that creates opportunity. And if it's a no, then go ahead, merge,
Yeah.
do what you want, try to save yourselves.
As long as the government stays out of it.
As long as the government stays out of it. It could be a good thing. It might not be. It'll be interesting to see if any tariffs happen on cars. The funniest thing that I've found out over my years of being an adult is that Ford and Dodge and these other American brands build most of the cars in Mexico, where the Nissans and Toyotas and Hondas of the world actually build a lot of their cars in the U.S.
Yeah, because they came over and built factories.
So it's the weirdest thing.
When the tariffs were in place, they came over and built factories to get around the tariffs.
Yep.
And now that we have a cheaper labor force in Mexico,
Yeah. Might as well annex that too. Make it 52nd state.
yeah, well, yeah. Well, he
All
did
right.
talk about that.
He
Trump
did.
has already trolled about that twice, I think.
He's having fun before he
is.
gets elected.
He is the ultimate troll. He really is. It's hilarious.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So the last two stories of the day are some fun animal facts.
Yes.
Which one should we talk about first?
Let's do the giraffe.
Well, giraffes are known for what? Spots, right? Oh, that's not a giraffe. That's a giraffe. Well, this one doesn't have any spots.
And it was born in Tennessee. I wonder what meth it got into, the mother got into while it was pregnant. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry. Sorry, Tennessee. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That one was from Tokyo. So apparently it's happened before. But I mean, what other defining features do giraffes have other than spots?
And their neck.
Well, I guess their neck. They're a weird creature.
Yes,
Very,
they are.
very weird creature.
That's interesting, though. At Limestone, Tennessee, at a family-owned zoo. Interesting.
Yep. Animals are weird. There's so many weird animals out there. God, it's terrible. Oh, that's awesome.
That is.
Yeah, giraffes are interesting animals.
I didn't even know you called a baby giraffe a calf.
Yep, it's not one of those weird names
Yeah.
that other animals have. It's just a calf.
It's just a calf. That's interesting.
How do you get born with a neck that large? Like in the womb and stuff. Apparently their necks are pretty flexible. They can lean down and stuff. It's just weird.
Yeah.
They're a weird animal.
Yeah.
And if you didn't think God existed and to design things, look at giraffes. But also, as a great segue,
As a
should
great
look
segue.
at the platypus.
That glows in the dark.
It's one of the weirdest animals on Earth.
Well, this is one thing I didn't know. It has no stomach.
No, it does not have a stomach. It also has 26 pairs of chromosomes.
Yeah.
And its duckbill has sensors on it so that it can hear the heartbeat of fish in the water.
It is just,
It actually mostly swims underwater blind.
and I know, and I knew it was venomous. It has those spikes
Only
on
the
it.
male version.
Yeah, but it's just this amazing
Weird animal.
UV glowing.
And if you didn't know, yeah, it glows in the dark.
Exactly. That's hilarious.
Now imagine if the platypus was 26 feet long.
It would be.
At night, and it pops
And
up out of the water
It pops out of
glowing.
the water.
Talking about a monster.
That's true. And you would, yeah. I remember reading reports of the old, when you read history books of, and they thought it was somebody's made it up.
Oh yeah, they for a while
Because-
scientists didn't believe it existed.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a little baby one.
That's so weird.
They're such weird animals.
But they glow in the dark. That's even funnier.
Yep.
I mean, who thought of, oh, let's put this underneath an ultraviolet light and see if it glows? I mean, seriously, how do you get there? How do you go from, oh, this is a cute, adorable little thing to, oh, I wonder if it glows under a fluorescent light.
Yeah.
And then the joke underneath that one
This
is
one?
hilarious.
Again, if you didn't think God existed and there was a creator who designed everything, where did the platypus come from?
Yeah, how do you get to a point where you have no stomach?
Not only that, but
I mean, electroreceptors as well?
you have all this stuff for absolutely no reason. Like, in comparison to other animals that do similar things to them.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Like an otter.
Yeah.
Because an otter swims in the same places. It feeds on the same stomach stuff, roughly, and except it doesn't lay eggs.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't have a duck bill. And it's not venomous.
Very true.
Yeah, but it has a stomach, too. Anyhow, this is nature's amazing. I agree. It's
Yep. Well, that's all the stories we have for today. Unless you had anything another rabbit trail that you wanted to go on.
nope. I think we're good.
All right. Well, that's us for episode whatever number we're on. Probably 7.
And have a great new year. Stay safe.
Have a Merry New Year.
And we will see you next year.
In 2025. We should do a special episode on January 6th.
Okay, we'll do a special episode.
Maybe. All right. Bye.
Bye.